Hey guys, welcome back to this week's pool here on Comic Relief Cast. I'm your host Jake.
And I'm Josh. Hey Jake, I got a quick question for you.
What's that, man?
E equals MC. What are we reading?
All right. And before we get started on that, guys, we want to say that we really enjoyed all this. We really appreciate all the support we got in the last video. We did a live video podcast uploaded, I think, Saturday, and it actually went off a lot better than we thought it would. Got a lot better reception than we thought it would. So we're gonna keep, trying to iron out the kinks on that. But I think it's something we're gonna be doing on a regular basis. Josh, how'd you feel about that?
I felt it was good. I'm sorry that you guys had to deal with our ugly mugs.
Yeah, I mean, we're not the most beautiful things in the world, but hey, at least hopefully you guys.
Apparently somebody's listening.
Yeah, but anyways, moving on to what we're reading this week, it's going to be Pearl number 3, Batman number 57, Justice League number 10, Aquaman number 41, Gideon Falls number 7, Cover number 2, Teen Titans number 23, Lucifer number 1, and Justice League Dark number 4. And starting right off with Pearl number 1 from Brian Michael Bendis and Gatos. How you feeling about this one, Josh?
Well, from our reviews, if you really want to know what our review is going to be on this book, just listen to the past 2 reviews that we've done for this book. It's still a very vague concept. It's slowly answering questions, but the problem is it's 3 issues in and it's still being slowly done. You're still getting some concepts. It kind of gets a little confusing at times with the way the art is handled and the way the dialogue's handled, but for the most part it's just still a very vague book, and it's 3 issues in, and at this point we should already kind of have a better understanding on Pearl and the conflict that's at hand right now. Yeah, the dynamics in the book are starting to slowly flesh themselves out to where I'm sort of understanding, but there's a lot of names and a lot of faces thrown at you with no explanation as to who anybody is, what their connection with Pearl is, what Pearl's kind of, I don't know, power seems to be. I don't know, there's just a lot of stuff going on in this book that is just not being answered, and so it is not giving me anything to latch onto. Like, I can't really absorb the information and hold it in and, touch back on it for later use when I'm trying to go, oh, that's what that means, or that's what that means. I just kind of, it's in one ear and out the other because there's just not much substance to this book. There's a little bit of intrigue going on, and as this book does seem to be slowly putting the pieces together of the past issues, when there's so much time in between these issues and there's so many other books people are reading, especially us, it's hard to remember exactly what happened in the last 2. So especially if you just if you're just focusing on Bendis, Jinx World stuff, there's a lot of other titles going on right now. But not only that, there's a lot of similarities between 3 of these books, Cover, Pearl, and Scarlet, and even United States vs. Murder Inc. They all have these strong female protagonists, and with Mac and Gatos doing art on some of these books, and even Malieve, it's really hard to sometimes separate these books because there's a lot of overlap. No, I think they're supposed to overlap in some sense. Yes, I just want to answer this so we don't get a bunch of stuff in the comics. Yes, they're supposed to overlap in some sense. It is all supposed to be taking place in somewhat of the same kind of world. But at the same time, what you're saying is they're all kind of similar in their own ways already. And this just, it makes it easy for this book to get lost because out of the 5 titles under Jinx World out right now, this is probably the one that is not standing out. Like, the other ones have something that stands out in every single one of them. Right, this one seems kind of bland. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and give this one 2.2 Space Krakens. 2.2 Space Krakens. I forgot you're trying to do little fractions now. Yeah, I mean, might as well, right? Break whatever. It down. Yeah. I'm going to give this one 2.37 Space Krakens. All right. Since we're going to be creative today. Smart-ass motherfucker. All right, Batman number 57, Tom King, Tony Daniel. First thing I'm going to notice on this Tony Daniel cover, which I think you actually have the Matina cover, right? I have the Matina cover in front of me. Yeah, this Tony Daniel. Dude, this guy is slowly making his way into being one of the greatest Batman artists in modern day. Dude is killing the art. But a comic is not solely judged based on its art or its cover. What did you think about the inside of this book? It wasn't bad. I've read some really bad Tom King books. And I'm slowly been kind of getting a little bit more onto Tom King. I'm kind of liking him a little bit more. And this one, for a conclusion, just did not end with the jam-packed feeling that I should get. Especially after what happened with KGB shooting Nightwing, I'm expecting something a little bit bigger. Yes, it does kind of end on a slightly bigger note for a Batman story, but it still does not hit me where I was wanting. The dialogue is very there's really no dialogue. It's mostly just nothing but a fight. Problem. There is no dialogue in this book. And the only dialogue that you get is one thing that I wish that Tom King wouldn't do so much is this whole going back and forth thing.
This whole allegory metaphor stuff, it's really getting old really fast in my opinion. Like Tom King has some really strong points in this book, and other moments I'm like, dude, you have really lost your message. You've muddied it up a lot with, because I mean, he goes back and forth in this book with what's going on with Batman and KGBs and like this kid's fairy tale, quote unquote fairy tale. It's a pretty fucking ridiculous fairy tale.
Pretty gnarly fairy tale, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
But like, he's really muddying the waters here because there's no direct allegory, there's no direct correlation between what's going on with Batman and this kid's thing. The way it pays off is at the end, who's telling the story. I thought I had a easy idea of who's narrating this, and then by the end of it, I'm going, oh wow, okay, that's definitely a different take than I would have thought. But it still doesn't answer anything. And again, the constant interruption with this fairy tale going on, it really just doesn't align.
Yeah, especially with this particular one, it pops out more. Before, it kind of like with the last issue, it takes you from, showing you what KG Beast is doing and then showing you what Batman's doing. And it kind of, you can be okay with it.
Right.
With this one, it's literally, you're actually looking at the kid's book. You're looking at this fairy tale, and it has like all the cartoon drawings and stuff. And it's to the point that sometimes you almost feel like it's an ad. Like, because you just, like, when you're looking at one page and you go, okay, that's an ad, and skip over it. But it's not, because it's definitely different from the rest of the book. I for the most part on this book, though, it was, like I said, for a conclusion, it didn't hit me where it should have. It should have been a little bit more jam-packed, a little bit hard-hitting.
More of a gut punch.
Exactly. You take the word right out, the words I couldn't say right out of my mouth. But it was a little disappointing. But at the same time, I've read some really god-awful Tom King Batman books, and this was at least not the worst Batman.
No, this one's very vanilla. It's inoffensive. It's not going to bother you. It's not going to upset you. But it's also not going to get you hyped up or excited about it. You know what I mean? So for that, I think the best part of this book is probably the very ending and what it might mean later, if it even is ever really addressed later. Tom King has a really bad knack of just dropping these little plot threads he lays out. So for me, 2.6. 2.6 Space Krakens. A little bit better than a 50%.
Yeah, I'm at 2.75.
All right.
Yeah, Space Krakens.
Moving on to Justice League number 10 by Scott Snyder and Francis Manapul. And honestly, in my opinion, this is actually one of his better books, but I think it's because he's setting up something that has to cross over with other people. So there's editors kind of in here going, you have to do this, you have to hit this check mark, you can't do this, you can't do that. There are certain moments where I'm still like, Snyder does not have a handle on being able to write some of these characters. The dialogue does not feel natural coming from some of these characters, but what they're doing is they're setting up the new Drowned Earth thing that's going on. It's going to be crossing over with Justice League and Aquaman, and I think it also had a Suicide Squad crossover as well, which it'll probably have at least one more issue with Suicide Squad.
I know it's supposed to cross over with Titans.
Oh, okay, and Titans too. Okay. Here's also another DC foil cover. Good looking foil cover. Even the I'm not really a big fan of the Jim Lee variant, honestly, but the foil cover is great by Francis Manapul. But basically, this book is setting up the Drowned Earth thing that's going on, and this is giving you your best bet, or your best kind of fleshed out story of what Drowned Earth is going to be about. Obviously, Atlantis has come back. It's been raised up out of the water now, and the Atlanteans are dealing with that, and this is kind of dealing with Atlantis and where they fit in the world. But it's also a kind of scattered issue. When it focuses up on Aquaman and Wonder Woman, it's really good. I really like what I'm seeing. They're adding to the mythology of Earth. They're adding to the mythology of the sea, the mythology of Greek mythology, and Atlantis. So it's like all that's kind of being added to in a way that I can accept. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I like this. But it also seems that DC is really trying hard to introduce new villains. They're kind of tired of recycling the new ones. If you see what's going on with Superman and Justice League, it's like they want to start introducing new villains, new characters, brand new concepts. And I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it in this book, but I did like seeing Firestorm.
It was nice seeing Firestorm. I like Firestorm. I feel like he's a character that's kind of forgot about a lot. With me, I wasn't really actually planning on reading any more Justice League, but since this was the beginning of a story arc, I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and give this a read. This is probably Snyder a little bit better Justice League issue, but at the same time, I hate these concepts. He comes up with these concepts that I feel are very what's the word I'm looking for that's going to be appropriate?
High concept?
No, not high concepts. Okay. They're like, concepts for a good kids cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I said this before because like now it's a different kind of story arc and there's this different thing, but there's like what would be cool, and it's like
it feels immature.
Yeah, like it's like fish in space, you know, like it's like
fish in space,
space kraken, goddammit, you know, like it's like this would have been cool if I was watching Justice League Unlimited,
right?
You know, and I was also a teen, like early, you know, toddler to, you know, early teens.
If you watch, you know, Saturday morning cartoons. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like that's one thing, like I think a lot of people is really on this book and really likes this new Justice League book because the team reminds them of the Justice League cartoon, and the story concepts are written like as if it was supposed to be for that cartoon.
Right, but Scott Snyder is also trying to have his cake and eat it too, because he's trying to be high concept and very cerebral about it.
Yeah, it goes back and forth, because that's the one thing, is like you get to this point where it's Aquaman and Wonder Woman and they're having this good conversation, connecting all these mythologies and everything, and you go, okay, this is not bad. And then you get to, it's like, well, what's Green Lantern doing up in space? And then he's like going, man, there's like a space crocodile flying by.
It was like a wasted page.
Yeah, and it was like they're like talking about these space creature concepts and this villain that's kind of up in, I don't know if it's going to be a villain at the end. I don't want to give too much away, but a lot of it just seems very like it's made for a kid's cartoon, nothing too big for a kid to consider.
Right. My biggest issue with this is there's no cohesion with what's happening in Justice League and what's happening with the rest of the DC universe. Like, I think Marvel's doing a really good job of whatever's happening in Avengers. You see it's still happening in the individual books, but it's not directly affecting those books. It's just mentioned here or there. With what's happening in Justice League here, the entire Earth is in peril now. That's not happening in any other books. The way that in Superman, the Earth is in the Phantom Zone. No other book is dealing with that. So it's like, what am I supposed to believe? That this world is all happening together and there's cohesion there? Or that I should just take each book separately and just kind of be its own thing?
Is every bone in Batman's body broken? I don't know.
Yeah, he just took on KG Beast the same day. So I don't know. But with that, I'm going to say this is one of Scott Snyder's better installments of Justice League in this run, but we're only really 8 issues that he's written now, because 2 of them at least were Legion of Doom by Tynion. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this one 2.9 Space Krakens.
I'm actually at 2.1 Space Krakens.
I'm gonna go straight over to Aquaman number 41 because I read this and it is directly a Drowned Earth tie-in, and I've been loving Aquaman. Dan Abnett, I think, has been doing a really great job on Aquaman, but this one, I think, guys, first, if you're planning on picking up both of these, definitely read Justice League first, then go ahead and read Aquaman, because you're gonna need the information from Justice League to carry over to the Aquaman book. But this one does a much better job of kind of fleshing out more and more of the Drowned Earth stuff, because it's directly focused on Atlantis and Mira and what's going on and with Batman. Not the rest of the Justice League, but just Batman and how he's kind of the guy calling the shots in the chair because he's Mr. Broken Body right now. But
Mr.
Broken Body.
That's what happens when you, in the DC universe, when your body is broken in some form or way, you just become Oracle.
Yeah, he's basically the Oracle right now. But Lan Medina, whoever the artist is on this book, is doing such a good job. It is very different from what we saw earlier in the Aquaman run, but it looks great in here. The thing is that I'm not liking about this book is there's this classic trope in almost all comic books. It's not just DC, to turn every human is being transformed into something, and we can't hurt them. We can't hurt them because it's not their fault. They're basically zombies. They did it again in this book, and that's the biggest detriment to this book. If they were to just focus on the fact that Atlantis is being targeted, and because Atlantis is being targeted, it's kind of rippling outward to the rest of the world because of Atlantis' stake in the whole New World Order kind of thing, that would have been much more interesting, other than just, oh, every human is now a creature and they're mindless beasts and they're attacking everybody. Why do mindless beasts instantly mean attack and kill things? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of gazelles out there that are just minding their own fucking business in the wild. So, but anyway, it's a good little book, and I think it's something you must read for Drowned Earth if you're planning on picking that up when it comes out here. When is it? I think November. No, towards the end of October. So, good book. I might be a little biased. I've been really enjoying the Aquaman run, but I'm going to give this one 3.2 Space Krakens.
All right, cool. I read Gideon Falls number 7. They've been on a little bit of a hiatus, just about a month hiatus. And as you guys all know, I am just absolutely loving this book. It's the art is done by Andrea Sorrentino, and Jeff Lemire's on the writing. And this book just keeps getting better and better. If you like mystery, you like supernatural, you like murder, or muck duck.
You like murder?
Do you like murder. Okay, I don't like really want to
Like
go.
a hard R.
I hate like yeah, I know, hard R. Ugh, it's weird. I don't really like going into great details and breaking down what happened in the books when it comes to this, because this is definitely a mystery type thing, and I want people to go out and read this from the beginning, and I don't want to spoil anything, because that's the one thing that like keeps making it better, is at the end of each issue, like, oh snap, and this, it just keeps picking up. It just keeps getting a good job. You get you get a little bit more answers to some questions that you had from the previous one. The good news is if you haven't read this, issue 7 came out today.
So did the first trade paperback.
But the first trade paperback comes out tomorrow. So make sure you hit up your comic book shops, get up the first trade. I know we have one in the shop right now. Come pick one up, and then also pick up 7, and then there you go. I'm giving this 4.5.
Holy shit. Okay. So this is one of those things you really recommend it, but you don't want to spoil it by...
I don't want to spoil it. It's
okay.
definitely... I feel like if I spoil it, it takes away from when you read it.
Okay.
Like if someone was to read it, then it's like, that plus also it makes my review mysterious.
Sure.
Adds a little bit of mystery to
It's
my
like when
review.
you watch, like a movie like Get Out. Like, what happens in it? Dude, I
I'm
can't
not
tell
telling you.
Just watch the movie.
You should watch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to Cover issue 2 by Bendis and Mack. And this is part of the Jinx World imprint again, and this is a much better installment into the Jinx World from Brian Michael Bendis. But as we said about issue 1 when that came out about a month ago, this is kind of like Bendis kind of stroking his own dick a little bit.
It was.
It's kind of it's an ego trip for him, and this also feels like a little bit of a wet dream for him as well. It has to do with kind of the inner workings of the comic industry, being a writer, going to conventions and stuff, but it's also mixed in with a little bit of political spy thriller. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this one took a very different turn from issue 1. Like, it opens up and you're going, whoa, I don't remember this, and it kind of goes and explains how this main character gets to where he's at. I really dig it. I like the dialogue. I think it flows so much better than it does in Pearl. I think it's much more easy to understand. I don't know if Mac does all the interiors in this. If he does, then he decided to adopt a very different look for some of the panel art in here. But I'm really digging this. And then what's kind of cool is Bendis decides to throw in a little bit of the story that his character's writing into the book. So you're kind of reading the story that the charecter's writing.
Which I think they did that in the first issue a little bit.
You did, but it's like a little Inception. Then I really love the way Mac decides to use white silhouettes in some of these panels. I think it looks so good. It gives it a very artisan look to it. I know that's a very pretentious term, but it was the best thing I could think of.
It was pretty pretentious.
I know, but it's a really good book, and
I found the book to be quite derivative.
Oh yeah, it's rather shallow and pedantic.
It is shallow and pedantic. I mean, I love it. It's a good concept. Good idea. I love David Mack's art. I love the fact that he actually kind of does different stuff to kind of, it kind of throws you off a little bit at times, but at the same time, I like it because it kind of, the art kind of fits for what the mood is. It
highlights exactly the difference in tone of the book.
Yeah. So like when there's moments where he's telling like a memory and it's a pleasant one, then it's like all his normal beautiful watercolors type stuff. And then when it's like a dull moment or a moment where it's just like kind of him, the character being confused, it's playful, it's kind of cartoony looking, and it's good. It's a good concept. I love that. And also another thing is for a comic book, if you're someone who is a comic book creator or if you're someone who has been a long-time comic book reader, it's definitely a fun book. I mean, it kind of deals with this inner workings of a comic book creator.
I'm sure as a writer, you can be like, "Oh man, the frustrations I get."
It's like, "Oh man, yeah, I know, right?" Yeah. I hate when fans are like secret agent spies and trying to recruit me and like follow me around everywhere. It's so bad.
Just let me live my life.
No wonder why Bendis writes some bad stuff sometimes.
Right. I can imagine that a lot of writers in the industry, if they were picking up this book, they would really praise Bendis because they understand some of the frustrations going on in this. But for me, I'm going to go 3.2 Space Krakens on this one.
That's actually 3.5 Space Krakens.
All right. Moving on to Teen Titans number 23 from Glass and Chang. I know this one is the foil cover. The normal cover is the foil cover. Great looking foil cover. But I also have the variant in front of me, which is just a Robin variant. It is awesome. It kind of looks like Robin in Pixar fashion. I really dig it. I think it looks cool.
Not like Dick Grayson or it's Damian Wayne.
Yeah,
if he was part of the Pixar.
I love it. I think it's a cool variant.
Murderous tendencies in Pixar.
Yeah, but anyway, this book is really good. I mean, Teen Titans has been so good since they started it back at issue 20. I'm really digging this team, and what's cool is I'm starting to see where the Teen Titans characters who's kind of playing who. Like, it's funny how you have your Wally West Kid Flash as your straight man, whereas Flash a lot of times, or the original Wally, is kind of the fun, wisecracking character. And then you've got Robin, Damian, he's your team leader, he's your Batman. You've got Jin, the genie, who is kind of your Starfire of the group, and stuff like that. So I'm liking that they're all kind of fitting into these archetypes, but they're also their own characters. Now, we remember at the end of the last book, it shows that Roundhouse is still alive, so they're dealing with that. But this book just does a good job of making a great team dynamic. The interactions between them are good. They're really strong, and they're believable. That's the thing. They're believable as kids. They're believable as teens. I understand where they're coming from. They're going to mess up, and I get that. I like that. But there's also some intrigue being stoked in here, because there's a dynamic between Jin and Robin that's going places. We also know about that secret Robin still holding about this, crazy prison he's still got that they haven't really touched on in a couple issues, but it's coming back into play, and Red Hood's a part of that.
Oh yeah.
But at the very end of this book, again, it's like they keep surprising me with the ends of these books. It's like, wow, I did not see this book willing to go somewhere like that.
Right.
And I have to give it praise, because it's good. This is one of the best Teen Titans books I've read in a long time.
I completely agree. Well, one of the things is like you're saying that you can kind of start picking out, like, you can see where their dynamics are going, where they fit as a normal Teen Titans team. My favorite thing is once you think that you figured that out, then it's not quite the same.
They play against types sometimes.
They play against types, and that's the cool part. Like, because you get parts where sometimes which is what makes it realistic, is you get times where one person acts before another person, and so Robin has to be like, no, you don't make the calls, I make the calls.
Right.
And you just like, oh, this is good, because you don't really get that from, like, you never got that from Dick, where Dick was like, I make the calls, you don't make the calls. You dick.
You see their growing pains as a team, and I really like that.
Yeah.
And honestly, the thing I would relate it to the most is actually probably season 1 of Young Justice, and I'm a huge fan of the Young Justice cartoon. So if you like Young Justice and you've been reading Teen Titans, you should probably see a lot of similarities between it, but that's an absolute good thing. So I'm going 3.8 Space Krakens on Teen Titans.
Okay. And one more thing I was going to say before you rudely interrupted me.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, that's what I thought, okay?
You dick.
No, but I was actually just going to mention the same thing that you were saying. It's like you read this and you kind of go, well, the past few issues had something dark that kind of happens at the end. And you read this and then you go, this is like really lighthearted. Kind of reminds me of Young Justice, the comic book.
Okay.
At times, because it's lighthearted at times and stuff, and it's fun. And then it always ends, and this one did it too. It just ends on this note, and you go, wow, this is not your normal kids book. Wow. But I have to give this 4.
4, okay.
It's going slightly above you, yeah.
All right, moving on to Lucifer from the Sandman universe, issue 1 by Dan Waters and Max Fuimara. This one I didn't know what to expect. I love this cover. I love Wilson for food. That's a cool concept for a cover.
Yeah, Jock kills it on some of his covers.
Yeah, but like every Sandman universe entry so far, there's a lot of this book that you just kind of feel like you're jumping in midway to a story that you don't have the beginnings for, and you're just a little lost on what's going on. But you kind of get your bearings here when you're dealing with this man and his wife and what's going on there, but it keeps flipping back to Lucifer. And so what I can't really tell is if Lucifer is lost his place, what's going on, and if there's an imitator as Lucifer right now in the world. But this also doesn't seem to be taking place in the dreaming world that I thought kind of everything was being tied to at some point or another. I can't really tell. But, I mean, I dug this book, but there are a lot of times I just felt a little lost. I'm like, why am I reading this? Why am I reading this? What's really happening? It's jumping around quite a bit, but I think it's just trying to lay the foundation, and I'm a little lost with it, but, if anyone thinks I'm out there listening, I'm stupid. I'm reading a lot of comic books at once, trying to get, all of these read and reviewed, so, maybe I've missed a lot of little subtle nuances here and there, but I think it's an interesting book. I'm really digging the art on the interiors, but I'm curious where this goes because I'm not fully understanding it just yet.
I'm kind of on the same page. Granted, I'm also going to throw out there that I've never read any of the Lucifer comics.
Neither have I.
So I don't know if that's also going to be something, if somebody knows something, like they read this and they realize, oh, well, that's the reason why, because you need to read Lucifer before this. Please comment, let us know, and then we will actually read it. But it was kind of the same thing. It was kind of, they threw me in. I was a little confused on what was going on. The concept's really cool, though. I dig the concept. I just feel like I'm not getting all the information that I need to understand what is going on. Why is Lucifer confused not confused, but why does he seem displaced, and why does everybody else seem to not really care? And sorry. But that's my biggest problem, is that I just don't know exactly what all these little pieces. But the foundation's great. The art is fun. I do dig the book. It's just, it's the same thing with like the House of Whispers. Like, I read it and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I don't understand exactly too much about this. One thing is also they put out the Sandman Universe issue 0, and you kind of feel like all this is going to connect together and come into one end together.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think now, with the way these books are kind of being handled, that the only one that's really going to be connected to that Sandman Universe 0 is the Dreaming, and the rest of this is going to be its own little standalone things, as if Sandman Universe is its like own imprint within an imprint.
Yeah, that might be a good way of putting it.
It's imprintception.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and give Lucifer a 3.4 Space Krakens. I liked it, just a little lost.
Yeah, so I'm right there with you. I'm not even going to try to change it. 3.4. I'll
right.
do 3.45. Just to fuck with you.
Fucking Dick Grayson. All right. Moving on to Justice League Dark, number 4, The Witching Hour, Part 3. I mean, this thing's also got a foil cover, great Capullo variant, guys. Either one is a good cover, but the foil covers are very attractive. So this one is just, continuing the Witching Hour stuff with Diana and Hecate, and how she's got this, what do they call it? Damn it, why am I missing it? She's witch-marked. She's witch-marked, and it is just continues to be a killer book. And I'm sorry, I think I forgot to say, it's James Tynion on the book, and who is doing the interiors? Damn it, I'm sorry. Anyway.
Just keep talking, I'll find it.
It's Alvaro Martinez Bueno. There we go. So, anyways, guys, great book. This is just continues to be a lot of fun. It continues to really further the mythology of the magic that's going on in the DC universe. This is something, this is one of those books I can get behind and go, I understand why the rest of the DC universe is not involved in this. They're not all magic users. They're not all aware of magic. They don't understand how it works. So this is kind of like the underground stuff of the DC universe.
Yeah, and I mean, also, plus in the the one-shot issue that happened before this, they even explained, like, part of it was that they, the main, God, now I'm forgetting names.
Yep.
But
Hecate, the three-headed witch. Okay.
She puts the little spell where they do not witness any of this.
Right. You kind of don't see what you don't know is there.
Kind of sounds like a cop out, but the way I'm saying it, but the way it's worded was really beautiful.
It was really fucking Dick Grayson. Okay, so anyway, moving on. Everyone's got their ability here. I like that each member seems to be on this team for a reason, other than so far Man-Bat. Man-Bat's the only one I still can't quite grasp why he's in here, but I feel like they keep referencing him. They keep talking to him as if he's going to pull something out here and be a really pivotal character at some point in this book. But I'm loving the interiors here, and there are a couple times where Bueno actually looks to me like he's kind of taking inspiration from Jim Chung in certain panels. I really like that. But then I like that it's also incorporating the green Swamp Thing's territory.
Oh yeah,
it's all a part of this. And Hecate is one bad bitch, and there's I like how they're just taking it all the way back to Greek mythology. I'm a huge nerd and I'm a huge sucker for Greek mythology.
I've been loving this book since it started. This is how you do a good, a well-written story arc with there being conflict and problems. You're not throwing in things that are too what's the word? Obscured or too childish.
Oh, okay.
It seems like you actually took time and you wrote it all out, and it's very well written. It's planned out. You can read it and you feel like that Tynion has a plan on where this is going to end.
And that's one thing I think Tynion does a great job of. He does a great job of outlining the rules of the magic world, so you're not like, well, why is this happening? No, I get it because you've already taken time to put in the work.
It's very well constructed. You know that he sat there and he wrote out the story, and he wrote it very well. Went over it with a fine-tooth comb and everything. And the artwork's great. I'm going to be a little biased on this issue because Deadman's in it for a lot.
Here it is, Mr. Boston Brand.
Yeah, do you love me some Brand? Yes, this book is killer. And then also, I'm a huge Swamp Thing fan, and I love the fact that they incorporate the green. And I like the way that I'm very particular on Swamp Thing though. It's like it depends on who's writing him and who's drawing him. And this is they're well written Swamp Thing, and also Bobo, man. Bobo is a badass.
I don't think we can go one Justice League Dark issue without talking about Bobo being such a good inclusion.
And I'm not going to lie. I know that Man-Bat doesn't show the reason why he's on this team very much. But
I think
dig him. I
like
dig him on the team.
Absolutely, I like him. I just don't know what role he plays yet. Like,
I know.
What is he serving to the story? Nothing yet, but I feel like they're saving him. And the other thing, too, I want to make sure I address is Zatanna. Zatanna's the one character we as the audience really need to latch on to, because she's kind of she's the warning. You know, she's like, look, Wonder Woman doesn't understand the kind of magic she's wielding right now. She's using magic that she doesn't understand, and she's using it as a bludgeon instead of a precise, instrument. She's not being, what is it, like a scalpel with it. She needs to be more surgical about it, but she's really just being kind of blunt force trauma with it. And at the end of this book, you can see why that was such a huge folly on Wonder Woman's part. So I'm going to go ahead and give this thing 4.4 Space Krakens.
I was actually at 4.5. But yeah, I'll say 4.5.
All right, guys. Yeah. Well, that is all we've got today for the DC and indie stuff. Let us know below what you're planning on picking up. If you've already picked it up and if you've already read it, what are your thoughts on those books? Hit that like button if you liked it. Share it with your comic book reading friends. And, of course, guys, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. We will have the Marvel one up here. Should be already on the channel. If you're not listening, maybe tomorrow or the next day. And if you haven't checked out the new weekly web up segment that we're going to be doing every weekend, make sure to check that out. Give us some feedback on that. We'd like to know how we can improve it for you guys as listeners. We really appreciate you listening, and take care.
Dick Grayson.